Welcome back to a year of Final Fantasy, and we are in the month of Leviathan, and we have a really special episode today. Maybe a little light on the informative side, but it's going to be extremely entertaining, I think. I'm so excited, and this is something I couldn't pass up. So, if you've been watching the series, you may have seen me throw in some rather obscure footage here and there from the series. This footage is actually from commercials intended to promote and sell the games, obviously. Since there are a ton of games out there, we're not going to look at all of them in this video, but I did want to take a look at some of the commercials up until Final Fantasy IV. Many of these were found on the livestream.net, so I didn't tape them myself. Go and watch them over there if you want to see them as they put them out. And they do have some really good content. Anyway, many of these are going to be in Japanese, so I can only guess as to what they're talking about, but there are a few that did come out in the States that we'll look at. And I dive back into the recesses of my childhood, and I can actually remember some of these as they appeared on TV. So anyway, the commercial will play, and then I'll talk a little bit about it and give my impression of it, and then we'll go on to the next commercial, continue like that for 4 or 5 commercials. So I've been excited to do this episode for a little while, and let's get right into it. This first commercial that we're going to look at is a Japanese commercial for a Final Fantasy 1 and 2 compilation NES cart that only appeared in Japan. I think I showed part of this whenever I talked about one of those games, but it wasn't the whole commercial, so let's take a look.
あの勇者たちが今ニューファミコンに出会う。ニューファミコンで蘇る伝説の物語攻略本付きファイナルファンタジー1、2一つになってアンコール発売。
Oh man, this commercial is just deliciously 80s, and it's a pretty good video game commercial, actually one of the better ones that I've seen. We have our heroes on an airship flying towards a castle, surprisingly decent CG for the time, or if those are actual props, then kudos to them. I think somebody, may have bumped up the red color tint a little bit, but other than that, it's actually quite good. In fact, it's very good for a video game commercial. It clearly came out fairly late in the Famicom cycle, as it shows by the top loader Famicom, but other than that, yeah, just actually a solid commercial. We've started off on a rather good foot, so let's go ahead and take a look at the next one, which is also a Japanese commercial, and it's for Final Fantasy III, the real Final Fantasy III.
Final Fantasy III.
Ooh, okay, so this one isn't really as great as the first one. It kinda looks like something that I do messing around with After Effects. Well, it's exactly like something I did messing around with After Effects. Go watch my intro movie. Anyway, it's just a crystal that turns into a floating cube with a bunch of gameplay footage on each side of the faces. Not a whole lot more to say, honestly. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Actually, it's gonna be the next 2, because they are short and, they're clearly part of the same kind of motif. So this one's for Final Fantasy IV, and it too is in Japanese, so let's have a look.
Final Fantasy IV スーパーファミコンで登場。Final Fantasy IV いきます。Presented by Square.
What do you even say to that? Oh my god, I don't even know. Okay, this is what you would expect out of a Japanese commercial. It's just crazy, off-the-wall wackiness. I don't even want to take a critical eye to it, but I mean, I guess they're equating chocobos with ostriches? I mean, the iconic theme song is playing for the chocobo, and the second of the videos sounds like the ostrich is saying "wark." which is what chocobos used to say. That's not ever what I thought Wark would sound like. And now I can't unhear it, so this may have ruined chocobos for me forever, but what else can you say? I gotta move on before I lose more brain cells. So, okay. This next one is for Final Fantasy II in the US, and as I've explained, that's actually Final Fantasy IV in Japan. So this is the first US commercial that I've seen so far, and let's take a look at it.
Okay, Dad, I just want to finish this game. Okay, Dad, I'm coming. Yeah, I'm almost at the end. What happened to summer?
Final Fantasy.
Yeah, Game Boy.
It ain't over till it's over.
Chill out, Dad.
Oh, right, here we are. The music is so, what would they say in the 90s? Something like Ratatubular cool or something like that?
Excellent!
This is the 90s. This is my era. It takes me back. Everything about this screams 90s. Everything's just constantly in motion, and you have the crazy, overbearing parent who's constantly doing yard work for what I guess the video implies that he's been out there for quite literally half the year until winter from summer. And I thought the goldfish died. Like that was a pretty heart-wrenching moment, because you kind of see the goldfish and it goes away, and then it's like winter, and then there's no more goldfish. There's a snow orb, but then psych, the fish is still alive, and we get a super special secret end credit sequence for Final Fantasy Legend 2 and Final Fantasy Adventure. I don't know where Legend 1 went, but it doesn't even matter because Final Fantasy. Alright, very good. Takes me way back to when I was a kid. It's awesome. Alright, let's look at just one more, and this is going to go back to Final Fantasy II, the original Final Fantasy II that released in Japan. I honestly don't know whether this is a Japanese commercial or an American commercial, because I legitimately get confused about this type of branding, and we see it even today. So let's just watch.
Final Fantasy II for Wonder Swan color.
Wonder Swan!
So the commercial itself is short and sweet, but like the first one we talked about, it's actually pretty good in the fact that it has the classic Final Fantasy music, and I assume it's supposed to be something like from the beginning of the game where Firion gets knocked out and wakes up and people save him and all that. It's a legitimately good commercial, and advertising the remake of Final Fantasy II that appeared on the Wonder Swan color, which is pretty much the same version that we got over here in the States for PlayStation 1 and Final Fantasy Origin. Now, this is what I have a super hard time with, is that I don't know why the words are in English and the announcer at the end of the video is in English, but at the beginning we have a female Japanese voice, but then it switches over and it's like showing us gameplay, but it has Japanese text, but then the English announcer says things, and I don't understand why Japan does this. And it's not just this video, it's kind of all of gaming related media. It's confusing. I mean, you have Japanese stuff, and then you have English stuff, and then Japanese stuff, and random words are said in English. You gotta stop it, Japan, alright? Pick a language, stick with it, alright? That's all I ask. Just stick with the language. Stop going in and out and mixing it. But anyway, other than that, this video was so much fun, and we have so many more commercials to get to, but let's get through a few more games first, and then we'll revisit the topic and look at all the other stuff that's come out since then. Next time on A Year of Final Fantasy, I'll be discussing the Highwind family and the lineage of the names throughout the Final Fantasy franchise. Until next time, Crystal Warriors, keep on...